So, what are we going to do today?
Oh, that's a solid question. Yeah, well, we're still working on this binoculars project, and we got some work to do on it. I was just actually about to open up your file. It looks like we kind of got a bunch of different people doing a bunch of different things. Some people got further than others. Actually, James, you're there. If you want me to show off your file a little bit, this thing's looking hot.
Yeah, go for it. I don't mind.
Yeah, check it out. I just opened it up and I was like, oh yeah, you did it all the way. Oops.
I kind of cheated on the center dial, or I feel like I cheated, but it worked out.
Let's hear about it.
So basically, I created a plane that was slightly underneath that, the arc of the central platform. I created a plane right below that, and I built a platform, which then I used right in the center, centered on the right plane. And I used a circle to revolve around that. And then you can see that I hid that platform, which is why I deleted the platform actually, which was a mistake, but I couldn't get it back because I saved right after I deleted it. But that way the center dial is in that weird space.
Yeah, so is that this plane that I've got highlighted, plane number 1?
Yeah, plane number 1. So that had a thin, 1 millimeter platform on it, and then I built the dial on top of that platform.
This is cool. Yeah, I am impressed with the progress you made. Let's take a look at how you built this thing. Now it's mustard colored, right? Which usually tells us that something's wrong. In an assembly, what that usually means is that there's like a broken mate or something like that. Like, you've got a concentric mate that, maybe you moved it or something like that, or you've got a conflict between a couple of mates. Yours don't seem that bad.
Yeah, no, it's just that was connected to the plane. And then the other surface that's yellow, that one had my basically center plane coming off of that surface, the surface extrude. So that's all that was. So the sketch isn't attached to the plane anymore because I deleted the plane, and I couldn't get it back. And then the surface extrude was also attached to that plane. That's
totally right. Yeah, usually, or another example of when you'll see that mustard color in your tree is if you lose the reference that the item is run off of. So it doesn't break the thing, it just turns it that kind of annoying color. And as long as you know in your heart that it's okay, then you can just keep rolling along. It doesn't turn the feature off or anything like that. So that's cool. Let me just edit this thing to see how you pull it off. Let's just edit it in space. And I see. So you just did an extrusion right off of there. Another boss extrude to get that piece. Chamfered that. Okay. See, little details like this, that little chamfer in the back. Some people would say, oh, you're never going to see that. It's not that big of a deal, but that's the kind of, there'll be a complex little scenario in here where you've got the fillet. This is probably a curvature continuous fillet as well on this piece. You got the fillet off the main body that's going to be leaning into the chamfer on this edge. And there'll just be a cool little light play going on when you get to the rendering part of the project. So that's a good setup. Here's your plane. Here's the revolve. You can see I'm starting in there. And there goes circular pattern. Let's let it catch up. Come on now. Yeah, there you go. Cool, 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 cool. Did your computer slow up after doing all of those circular patterns? Did it start to get cranky with you at all or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I had saving Tourette's. It was every 3 seconds I would click Control S, and it froze for an hour and a half last night. And I was waiting for it to reopen SolidWorks because there were so many fillets and revolves and everything going on.
Yeah, I know. That's one of those kind of nerve-wracking scenarios where you're I haven't really done anything complex, but I'm still asking a lot of my computer. And so what am I going to get? Is this thing going to make it through? Usually if your computer freezes on something like a circular pattern, then you can be about, I'd say 95% sure it'll just take its time and then finish up. If you're doing with something like a boundary surface blend, like we did up on this upper portion of this model, and it freezes at that point, and you're just waiting for it to kind of figure out the blending pattern, then that is the kind of thing where you might get a crash. And I've even pulled the plug on my computer a few times in a really tough spot where you're trying to do something like blending geometry and the computer crashes. That means there's actually like a mathematical problem that's somewhere down the pipeline that it could hurt you. So cool. Well, this is good. Yeah, thanks. I didn't mean to show you off. I was sitting down on my computer before class started, and I just happened to open up your file here. So let me.
No worries. Hey, I did have a question though. So
Yeah.
on the image, we don't have the circular pattern on both eye dials.
Right.
Does that mean that I have to create another eye dial on the left side, or can I remove the pattern after a mirror?
I think that you can remove the pattern on the one side just to follow along with the product a little bit more. I think that there's really, I think there's only one adjuster knob on this item, and the other one is just kind of like a blocker plate or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So that saves us the trouble, and it'll save your computer the crash of like trying to, figure out another circular pattern. So that's lucky. Here's my file, guys, if you wanted to see my stuff. So I didn't do as much homework as you, James. I just did a couple of different tricks, which I'm going to show off in class today. So Harish, you were asking about like, what are we going to do in class today? So yeah, I actually, let's see, I created the eye cover up here, and then I've got another little piece inside of there. That's the light blocker that goes inside of there. I've got lenses that I started building that go inside. I then used a trick called mirror component, guys, which is a fun little tool for when you have a scenario like this where you have the same part that's running at different parts of the model. Mirror component is hidden up here at the top of the assembly toolbar, and it's down here like this. It works in the same exact way as the mirror tool does in the rest of SolidWorks. It just works with components as well. So I was actually able, if I edit this mirror component here, you can see here that I was able to mirror both lenses. I have lenses up here at the top, and then I have lenses down at the bottom as well that went along with the eye cover, and then the strap holder as well. I just mirrored that over. Because technically, if you're in a manufacturing sort of situation and you are going to produce, let's say, these eye covers here, you're only going to make one tool for that, or you're going to just need to provide one piece of CAD for that. And then from there, you would cut a tool, you'd have a tooling manufacturer just cut multiples into a solid piece of steel. It wouldn't need to be the kind of thing where you need to duplicate it in the CAD. So this mirror component tool kind of works like that. It's sort of like a virtual duplicate device. So if you're, in this exact kind of scenario where you're trying to just save time and you don't want to have to draw the extra line work and do anything like that. So so that's what we can play with today, is getting into that a little bit. And then the big thing that we have to kind of work on together is adding some of the detail into the main body of this really complex form that we've all built, By this point, most everybody has both sides of the binoculars built. Everybody should have it working at this point by class with in a fully solidified state. I know that there was quite a few, let's see, I think I got 3 or 4 emails all with the same exact problem. Everybody's like, extruded cut is grayed out. What's wrong with it? It's broken, And so The answer for everybody, as you know, is that, you know, if your model's not solid, then and it's still a set of surfaces, then SolidWorks will gray out the solid tools to keep you from thinking they're possible. So that thing that SolidWorks does, where it removes the capability of using a tool and grays out a tool like that, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, on the one hand, it's like, it's really annoying because if you don't know what's going on, then you're like, the computer's broken. But then at the other, once you kind of know that SolidWorks does that and you have that memorized, then you realize that it's actually kind of it's like a function or a tool that SolidWorks uses to kind of inform you about your model. And so that is pretty helpful. So it was helpful for me as a teacher, because I didn't have to open my computer really to solve the problem. If you guys noticed, you know, for a lot of you, I just kind of wrote back off my phone, you know, and it was like, you know, I know enough about SolidWorks to know, like, if extruded cut's not working, you got surfaces. So you got to roll back to the part where you solidify your model and re-solidify it into surface bodies. So we'll start kind of there, I guess. That's a good kind of place to start our day today is with that problem. We'll just kind of just look at that as a group and just double, triple confirm that you guys have all got that figured out. I'll admit that I've made a bit of a mistake here practicing for class. You know, what I should have done for myself is I should have doubled up these parts, and that way we could kind of proceed as a group and rebuild up to this point. But, you know, we'll just, maybe I'll take some of these things apart or something like that, because I really want to, you know, get you guys a step-by-step guide as to how to kind of get to this point. So one of the things I did before class is I did record a 1-hour tutorial on basically me building everything that you see here from where we left off in class last time. And that's something that I've already uploaded to Moodle, and should be there uploading as of now. It failed once, oddly. And I think I've actually also got it on our class YouTube channel as well. So that'll actually, now that I'm saying this all out loud, I'm realizing I think we'll be able to focus more in on getting some of the details in on the main body, and you guys can just catch up as needed using that 1-hour tutorial that's already online after class. So yeah, so let's just take a look here. If I look at the main body of my file here, it's R8. If I edit this file, if I edit the part, it turns blue. The big giveaway that, you know, you guys need to memorize is up here at the top. Solid bodies and surface bodies. It gets confusing as we get better and better with SolidWorks, because you'll always have a couple of surface bodies sort of hanging out, which are like, you know, you can see it highlighted in orange here. These are the construction surfaces we used for the original boundary surface. And those are all working surfaces. They need to be there. So you will have some surface bodies. And so your eyes kind of get used to seeing the surface bodies folder up there. But then you should also have a solid bodies folder. And the goal is always to have one single solid body, just because that's, you know, our goal is to create a single watertight model. So you should see solid bodies with a 1 next to it, and you should be able to open that up, and you should see most of the time in a scenario like this where we've got a symmetrical model, you'll see something that says mirror. It just it captures the last feature that was used before the body was created, and then it uses that as the name for the body. So if you did a surface knit and you hit create solid, well, then that would be the name. Surface knit would be the name of the body. For me, the last thing I did was a mirror. So yeah, so if you guys get into this scenario again on any of your personal models, or if you're going back to edit models for our final, and you know, you come across this thing again where features that should be working are grayed out, best thing to do is just check up here at the top of the model. And I mean, to make these things further even more confusing, they will disappear and reappear depending on whether or not you have any solid bodies. So if you don't have a solid body, the solid bodies folder disappears. Surfaces, same thing. If I were to go in and delete all these surfaces, the surface bodies folder would just disappear. So that's another kind of like subtraction technique. Like if you don't see the thing there, then it means something as well as if you do see it. So you need to kind of learn both ways. So I think everybody that emailed me about the extruded cut thing figured it out. Sylvia, I was looking at your file just a second ago, and it looks like you eventually got it. Chloe, are you there with us here? Let me see. I'm not looking at the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chloe, you had sent me a frustrating problem with a little video, which I really appreciate. Did you ever get that solved?
No, I tried a lot of times, and when I need to when I try to make it smaller, and it will disappear, and I cannot find in the screen on the screen, and I just turn off my computer and run again. So I don't know why I cannot find the save button.
It's so odd. I hope that this helps. If I go on my file here down to pack and go, mine shows up in this really nice compact way.
Yeah,
But one thing to know about this is if you hover your mouse over the top of the window, you can stretch the size of the window. Have you tried that?
no. Yeah, I tried that, but it will disappear. Like when I find this arrow, little arrow, and when I click and I need to I try to drag, but it will disappear on my screen, and I cannot find that. I also cannot close the SolidWorks, and my
no.
computer will have some interesting sound, like click sound. I don't know how to describe that, but it is very interesting. I don't know why, and I just need to turn off my computer and turn on again, and then open SolidWorks again and find this again, but it cannot work. I tried three or four times,
Oh,
and
gosh,
I got same result.
I was really hoping that I was going to show you how you could adjust this and then you'd be able to get it shrunk down and figured out. If that doesn't work, then I'm just as stuck as you. You know, I think that there might be a resolution issue with your desktop settings. I'm surprisingly bad when it comes to actual techie stuff with computers, you know, like anything about like overclocking your computer for gaming or figuring out screen resolution or anything. That stuff always gets me on the ropes pretty quick. And maybe somebody else on the call today might know a little bit more about it. But from the look of your video, if you could just hide the toolbar that's down here at the bottom, just temporarily, then that would at least give you access to the save button, which clearly is right here. So, you know, you're going to have to.
Maybe I can.
Let's see, display settings here.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm nervous to even mess with it, but like my display resolution right here is set to a recommended amount because I don't customize it. But I know that you do have a lot of options under here, and if you reset the resolution, sometimes that can cause things to look a lot bigger or just out of scale. That's my best advice. I think that's all I got. Anybody else on the call have any ideas? We have adjusting, you know, font size here. I don't know. How about like just doing like a hotkey, like a you know, Control S for save, and just save your file at least. And then once you get back to your desktop, maybe go to, you know, the icon size, or I don't know what else, but start Googling stuff like that. Seems like the kind of problem other people run into. Anybody else out there got any advice for Chloe, guys? I kind of want to open it up to the rest of the crew.
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I've had that problem on a Mac before where the menu down at the bottom was on like genie mode or something like that, where it would dip down and disappear, and then I couldn't get it to come back up, and I kept having to scroll my mouse under the thing, and I was kind of stuck for a while. So
Yeah, my SolidWorks files kept on crashing like for at least for 4 or 5 times, you know, in an hour. I don't know why is it happening.
I think we're just getting into the kind of realm of like a complex model now at this point. You know, we're dealing with circular patterns a lot. We're dealing with, you know, advanced assemblies. We've got a surfacing program or surfacing situation happening. And so we're really, you know, we're right there at the end of the class, guys. I mean, we're going to be running out of new stuff to bring to the table. So we're really kind of flexing all the skills that SolidWorks has, and even beyond some as well. We're kind of getting into the crossover point of where the things we're doing in SolidWorks are the things that you do in any other CAD program, like, you know, Rhino or Alias or Creo or Blender or any of the other ones that are out there. Fusion 360, same thing. And then, you know, a majority of the class too is operating on the, you know, boot camp Mac PC version, which, you know, is possible, but it's not ideal, guys. And so, you know, I hate to say that, but I think we all kind of know that in our hearts that this is not the best sort of situation to be on. And that's just COVID related, really. We'd all be on a different scenario if we were in the school, but yeah, crashes are just a thing to be expected. And, you know, when I was a student, we would have the whole computer lab would crash in one fell swoop all the time. And it really did teach me to become a better saver and just to become comfortable in myself with losing work and remaking work and stuff like that. So you'll get there. Harsh, how's your file looking? I noticed that you turned in one as well. Did I get it yet? I don't think so.
Yeah, I sent
Latest one, R3.
no, I don't think so.
You got one in too. Let's see, where are you at, buddy? And we got Mo's to look at as well. Well, let me just do all this later. I don't feel like having you guys watch me check emails. That's boring. Let's do some stuff in the program and let's see if we can get out early, huh? One thing I have to bring up with everybody, and I want you guys to all pay attention to this, is that, you know, Thursday is Thanksgiving here in the US, and it's a recognized holiday, and so we don't have class. So that's good for everybody. Some of you, like James, I know you got like 1 million classes every Thursday, so you probably noticed that right away. But for those of you who don't know, no class on Thursday. It's also a holiday, so it's a goal of mine to kind of, you know, not, you know, bear down on you guys too much with too much homework. I want you to enjoy yourselves. If we've all got a day off, we should all take advantage of it. So my goal for today is just to help us kind of figure out some of the things we got to do to get some of the details on this main barrel of this thing. And then I'll just kind of leave it to you to see how far you can take this from there on out. So I practiced this a little, and I didn't save my practice files because I didn't want to find myself in this exact scenario that I'm in right now, where I've kind of overworked the model a little bit, and I'm going to have to pull it back to a less refined state in order to kind of step you guys through it. But I found that I had an idea in my head on how we would add some of these barrel details, and that was totally wrong. And then I had a plan B in mind that I was hoping to show off, and that didn't work either. And so it finally landed with a tool that's called Thicken. So what we're going to do is we'll introduce the Thicken tool, and we'll also do some more of the combine tool. So most everybody knows about combine by now, but we'll do all that. So what I'm going to do with this model here, since it is where it is I think I'm going to actually just take the main body that I've got here, and I'm going to open it in its own part file. So if you're not familiar, you can right click on any of the parts that are in your assembly, and you can go up to just open part right here. And that will open the part, just the single part in its own little file. And so you can see what this thing looks like on its own. Now, when you do this move, this is not mandatory. This is just a technique that I'm doing right now, where I have an open assembly file, and then I'm going to open a part file out of that. Okay, you can also just as easily go without the assembly open at all. In fact, let's do it that way as well. Here, let me close this. And I'll close this as well. And I'll close yours, James. What did we do to your file? Oh, I just fiddled around with it. I'm not going to save those changes. So I can go File, Open, and just open up the individual part for that body. So here's my thing, and here's all my parts. And let's see here. I should have my main. Let's see, R8, R9. Hold on, guys. I have to do it again. Hold on. I forgot which part is running assembly. Okay, I have R8 as the main body, but then I also have R9 going. So let me see the difference. Don't save. This is the kind of thing that I meant to do before class, but instead I got distracted by like James and Chloe's files. So your fault, or my fault, not your fault. Right. Open. Let's see what I have in R9. Is this the changes? Oh yeah, okay, cool. This is it. So here's a little sneak preview, okay? A little bit of a sneak preview. I mean, look at this thing, right? It's actually a little bit further back than it was before, but this is what we're gonna try to do today, is add this kind of, this what, like looks kind of like an offset surface here. But we are gonna use the offset surface tool, but we're gonna have to add a new little bit of trickery to it. So anyway, since this is my practice file, I'm gonna actually shut it down. And then I'm gonna open the file that's living within the assembly file, so that the changes I make here in class today will reflect into the assembly file that I have going. Because I'm actually excited enough about this project, guys, that I'm looking forward to kind of getting it up in my my little website, where I keep my work. I think this thing is going to really sing at the end, guys. I'm gonna bust out some cool tutorials on how to get the lenses to look really good using Photoshop files, and it's like this file's got a lot of potential. So I'm eager to make mine look good as well. So I'm going to go open R8 is my file. Okay, perfect. All right, now I have to take apart my file just a little bit. One of the things that I don't want is the mirror. Okay, and I can imagine that if you're out there and you worked really hard to get to the point where you mirror this across, then you're probably not happy to hear that. I'm not in love with the idea of deleting my mirror either, but I'm going to do it anyway because I really want to save myself work, and as you're about to see, this is going to require that. So I've got my mirror and I'm going to delete it. Okay, cool. The other thing that I'm going to do to my model here is I'm going to actually take out most of this cut extrude stuff here. So I actually have, let's see, I've added quite a bit of stuff to this model here. So maybe I can actually do this with my timeline. So if I roll my timeline back to where this model is flat on both ends, I think there's a majority of us out there that would agree that when you're cutting into a model and trying to add things to it, it's best if the back and front are detailless, flat edges. So I'm just going to kind of like say a prayer to the SolidWorks gods that I'll be able to start with my timeline right here in the middle. And then at the end, after I've done all this maneuvering, I should be able to pull this down and bring it all back to life with just the simple roll of a wrist. But we'll see. And if not, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to cry too heavily if I have to redo this stuff. As you and I both know, the hard part's over with this model if you've been following along. Getting this thing to be solidified. Let's check to make sure it's solidified. Yes. Here's my solid bodies folder. So we're good right there. And so where I'd like to start is just by showing the image again. So I'm going to go here. I've actually named my layer main image. So I'm just going to right click and go show. And then I'm going to change my view to wireframe mode. And I'm going to look normal too. And what I'm really trying to do is just capture the kind of view of this piece here. And that's what we're going to want to do. Okay. So I'm going to start a sketch on, I think it's the front plane is working as our top plane. And so I'm going to start the sketch on the front plane, and I'm going to use a spline. And I'm going to use a spline as opposed to a straight line tool because I feel like I see a small kind of arc in this. And that may be just because it's on a curved surface, but I'm just going to go with it anyway because I think it looks cooler. So, so let me go to my front plane here and I'll right click and I'll start a sketch and go to spline. There we go. And when we do this kind of thing, it's not going to be well, we're going to do a split to start. And anytime you do a split, you want to overshoot your curves over the edge of the model where possible. You know, as we learned down here, this edge was kind of easy. This edge was a lot harder because it ends in the middle of the barrel. So up here at the top, we're just going to kind of use our creative imagination to kind of understand, well, where would this line go if it did extend up here? I'm thinking it starts right about here and then goes to about here. And be careful when you click this second point here that you don't hit this line, because if you hit the seam between the two split edges, you're going to get a coincident relation on there, and that's something you want to avoid. So from this point, with this arc just kind of hanging out, I'm going to right click and select and drop the tool. And then I'm going to refine this line here and just pillow it out just a little bit. And then I'm going to grab spline again in the same session. And again, same move where I just drop the line down and then kind of arc it after the fact. This has two effects. I mean, it has the effect of just, it gives you a little bit more time to think and kind of absorb the line you're trying to draw. And then it also just kind of, you know, it just helps you focus in on what this line is going to be, because this will be important. There's a fillet here between these two edges, but we're not going to add that. We're going to add it to the solid when we're done. So some points to pay attention to are that I'm avoiding the seams between different parts of the model. I'm definitely avoiding this degenerate seam here. We worked hard enough on that. We don't want to get anywhere near it. I'm really just operating within the main body of the barrel here. So straight line to just close this off about here. And again, I'm like watching to see where would this line go. And this is a slow example. I mean, we could speed this up, but why not take our time and make sure it looks really good. So I'm going to keep going here. Now look up here at the thing. It actually does kind of arc off to the side a little bit here, so it doesn't just keep going straight up like this side does. So we're going to need to get that into our model as well. So I'm going to grab spline again and see if we can get up there. Draw each of these little curves on their own. Yep. Okay. And then up here at the top, just connect those two ends with a straight line and keep an eye out for it to turn gray in the middle. Because remember, if it doesn't do that, then it means it's not an enclosed form, and that will cause you trouble. So we want it overlapping on both ends. We want to avoid all the seams where possible, and we want it to be a fully enclosed shape. So you can exit out of the sketch and then perform the split if you want, or you can just turn on the split tool right from here. I'll exit and go the hard way. I'm actually going to hide the main image too, just to kind of simplify the workspace a little bit and you know, get this thing looking good. So let's make it gray, and we'll go to split, which is under direct editing, and split is the tool. The trim tool will be that sketch we just created, which should be down here at the bottom, or no, it's right here in the middle, sketch number 23. So turn that in. We want to be careful about this, so let's actually go to selected bodies and let's manually select the main body that we want to split. Just try to get into that habit of telling SolidWorks what to do as opposed to it telling you what it wants to do. And we'll hit cut bodies, and we should get 3 bodies. And you'll have a little flag pointing to each body. And if you get more than that, then you could have yourself a problem. So you're going to want to look back at your model and figure out what's going on. It should be that this is one single body being cut into 3 pieces. So a couple models back, I think there's a few people that had issues with different bodies. So just keep all of them. So box select each one, green checkbox.
Jim,
Your
where
model
is
to the
your
side. What was that? Is that Mo?
Yeah, I was asking, where is your sketch number 23?
Mine is in the middle of my tree right here.
Oh, okay.
Because I had some stuff. I had to roll my model up through some other things. So
Yeah, because in my trim tools, I was trying to select the design, like the sketch number 23, but it won't allow me to select it. I don't know why does that happen.
ooh. Well, remember what I said. It should be gray in the center. It should be a fully enclosed form, and it should overlap over all the edges. That's the kind of only conditions that you need to have that sketch work with.
Okay, let me try that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep. I'm gonna be risky here myself, and just because I'm feeling experimental, I'm gonna try to see what happens if I roll my model down all the way. And yeah, here we go. So this is when you're a pro SolidWorks user like me, you can see all this red stuff in your design tree and kind of like not freak out. But what I've done here is I have split my model into 3 parts. So a majority of the extra work that's below my timeline right now is broken if I don't fix everything. So that's just good to know. I'm going to roll my timeline back up. And yeah, let me go rebuild here. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to keep working on this thing from here. At this point, this sketch that I used for the split, I can hide it. I don't want to get rid of it, but I want to hide it. So I'm going to right click on it and go hide. Okay. And then I want you guys to pay attention to up here at the top. You should have your solid bodies folder now. Should have all 3 of those bodies that you saw the split create inside of it. And we can hide them kind of one by one. Yeah, see, there goes 1. There goes 2. And here's the one that we split out. Okay. So that's the one we want. It should look like that. The next move that we're going to do is a unique kind of situation. Now this one's going to be a full-on, I think this is the full completion of SolidWorks capability, where you're actively surfacing and working on solids in the same file. When I was doing this on the side, I thought this is really, it's really coming around. In fact, I wanted to just take a note to say I'm really proud of the class, because you know this is the first online class we've taught, and you know, I've taught, and I haven't really got a DC3 class this far. So I mean, maybe there's something to the recorded online sessions that is beneficial beyond being in the classroom and fighting these things together as a group. So congrats to all of us. Let's see how it goes, right? Famous last words. The move here is going to be to do an offset surface of all of these surrounding surfaces. And then we're going to have to do some other stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Surfaces tab, and I'm going to go to Offset Surface. And I kept getting this wrong just visually. Since we don't have the measurement, it's a little tough. I'm going to set the offset distance to, I'm going to say 1 millimeter. Okay, and we might need to come back and redo that. We'll see. Under the blue bar here, under offset parameters, just click these panels one by one. Make sure to get all of them. And then, yeah, let's zoom in on that and see. What you're seeing here is how high the ridge will be for the binoculars. So is it worth it to go back and look at a photo at this point? Maybe, yeah. Maybe not, they kind of look different in this photo. Anyway, yeah, I think it's small, so let's keep it at 1 millimeter. Up to you. Maybe 1.5, okay, just safety's sake. Okay, cool. So we'll approve that and just green check box. All right, perfect. Okay, so now comes this new tool. So the idea here is we're going to use a tool called Thicken, and Thicken will take a single flat surface and it will thicken it. Kind of like we learned in the past about if you draw like a single line in SolidWorks and you try to put an extruded boss base on a single line, it'll do that thing called thin feature, where it adds thickness to the single line in order to get it to extrude. This is kind of like that a little bit. And what we're going to do here is we're going to thicken this surface in a certain way so that it thickens back into the main body of this split piece here, okay? So that's the trick. And let me turn on the Thicken tool to show you how it works and some of its different settings so that you can understand kind of what we need to do to make it work right, okay? So it's here under the Surface tab, and it's right here, Thicken. You can read the description. It says, creates a solid feature by thickening one or more adjacent surfaces. If you want to thicken multiple adjacent surfaces, knit the surfaces together before you thicken the surface. Okay, so let's just turn it on. And it's first going to ask us the surface we want to thicken. So we're just going to say that one, okay? And then here's the bit, okay? So there's 3 different settings for the Thicken tool. One is the, let's see, this one is upper thicken, right? Where I'm going to set this to something like 2 millimeters. Maybe I'll make it 3 millimeters so you guys can really see it. Okay, so I'm going to set that to 3, and then I'll hit upper thicken, thicken one side, and you can see what it does there. It kind of presses upwards and duplicates the surface, kind of like it's a like an offset surface again. But we don't want that. We want it to go the opposite direction. So there's the middle button here, the hamburger, is it'll go in 2 different directions. Okay, the 2 different direction one actually doesn't work in this sort of a scenario. And there's also the lower section here, which also doesn't work. So you have to take my word for it here. If you pay attention to how the upper thicken command works, then you should understand how the double and how the lower one works. The problem here is that we've got a 360-degree revolved item. And so when the computer goes to try to say, I want to offset inward, it's reading 360 degrees around, and it doesn't know which way is up and which way is down. Because with 360, up is down and down is up. So if that doesn't blow your mind, you're not like me. But so the other two options here don't exactly work. So the trick here to get this to work for this operation is to actually cut that offset surface in half so that it has an upper and a lower portion to it, and it has the ability to do a lower or a hamburger, a two-sided thicken. So so we're going to do that. Okay, we're going to go back. I just wanted to bring out the thicken tool, kind of show you how it works, and then we'll put it away and we'll set up for the scenario we need. So here we go. So I'm just going to X out of that. I'm just going to go and I'll approach the model from right here. Let's see, top plane. Let's see. Yeah, top plane. I just want to send a knife going right through here and sort of chop this off. So top plane for me looks like it'll work. So I'm going to make a sketch on my top plane. Look normal too. I'm going to grab a straight line. I'm going to line it up at the origin here. And I'll just strike a line right through the center. Okay. And then we're going to go to trim surface, and we'll do a trim surface. It doesn't matter whether you do the upper or lower surface section. We're going to mirror our results anyway, so it's up to you. I'll take the bottom one. Just kind of give that a spin so you know it's working. We'll trim off the bottom piece. Go okay. Perfect. Okay, good. So now we have half of the detail we need ready for a thicken. So the surface we want to thicken is here. We're going to set the thicken tool to go down. So the black line is the seed, the current sketch surface. And then the blue line is the newly created wall of the thickened part. So, so we'll just hit that, and we'll hit this. And there you go. So you can see what that tool does. It is pretty cool. I mean, it builds the walls between the two surfaces. It offsets the surface that you selected, and it caps the entire thing and makes a solid out of it. So, you know, we could have done this manually by doing an offset surface and then capping all these edges ourselves with maybe a loft or some trims or something like that, but that's a lot of work, and so this tool helps us do that. So now right here is the kind of the good news for us, which this shows us, this area here shows us that the 3 millimeter thicken that we performed, sorry, I did a 2 millimeter, I'm gonna make it 3. I want it to really stick in there. There you go. So I'm looking for overlap between the thickened part and the other part, okay? That's important to me. Let's look again at the thicken tool. There's a merge result button here as well, and there's a option to merge the body that's created by the thicken tool into a body of your choice. And it looks like it's auto selected, or it's kind of selected it on its own as split number 3. I'm actually going to uncheck merge result, because I don't want it to merge into the body quite yet. First, I want to take the newly created piece here, and I want to mirror it down onto the other side, onto the bottom. So the mirror tool is under our features tab. And remember that we're going to be mirroring a body and not a feature here. Okay, we've created a body using Thicken, and now we're going to mirror it. We don't have a plane to mirror across, but we do have this surface here. So notice on the mirror tool how it says that you can mirror on a face or a plane. So we'll mirror on a face. This will be our mirror, and we're going to go to bodies, and we're going to mirror this whole thing. Just like that. Perfect. And at this point, now that we're doing the mirror, we can take advantage of the mirror tools thicken, not thicken, but merge solids command. And that'll save us the trouble of doing a combine later on, at least at this point. So merge solids, let's hit that. Perfect. So that's worked, good job, all set. Looks like the mirror tool mirrored the instance of the mirror and joined it into the original mirror piece, but didn't join it into the rest of the body. So we've got the interior body there, and we've got the new piece that we've created. Let's bring up all the other bodies that we created too. Okay, cool. So you can see the technique here. Looking good. Always want to zoom in on those details. This should be fine. Okay, good. I'm going to go ahead and join all of these bodies together into one solid now. So I'm going to use the combine tool for that. Remember when we first started this process, guys, that combine was not, it was grayed out because we had just a single body. And before we split it into 3 pieces with that original sketch, then with nothing to combine together, the combine tool grays itself out. So another example of combine graying itself out. So this time we'll use it combine, and we'll just manually grab all of these. 1, 2, 3. And don't forget the one on the inside, that one too. Okay, wonderful. So check your solid bodies folder now at this point, guys. Anytime you do a combine, anytime you do a knit surface, anytime your goal is to bring things together into a solid, then definitely check your solid bodies folder. Here's mine. It's nice. I've got the last feature used before body came together. Let's combine 1. You can find that in the tree down here. And we're all set. So good to go. It's just time to add some fillets to this thing and kind of spice it up a little bit. So let's do that. Fillet tool should work like a charm. This model is solid. If you're in the boat of kind of being unaware of how to check for solidification, then you can go ahead and also don't forget about this tool here, the section view tool. This tool does an awesome job of checking if your model is solid or not. And the only way it can be dangerous is if you accidentally turn it on by hitting the green checkbox here. Just always turn it off. So I'm going to grab some fillets, and we'll just kind of get started on filleting this thing out. Let's go fillet. And perfect. I'm going to start with the easy ones, which are all the edges, the hard edges, the theoretical edges. So 1. You've got to remember now that you're dealing with a 360-degree model, so you've got to constantly turn this thing over quite a bit. Lots of good practice for getting your mouse skills figured out. And don't worry if you forget one of these along the way, you can always add them back into the fillet later. But I'm going to leave the top ones alone, guys, because I've got a bunch of other stuff that I'm working on up there. So those fillets are good. They're just super small. So just bump them up to like 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. We can do whatever we want. This thing's working like a charm. Cool. So that's looking cool. And another thing I was going to mention too is that this kind of detail addition, this is considered, you know, decorative design or ergonomic design. This should be the kind of thing that you guys are probably right in the middle of trying to think out as far as your studio projects are concerned. So, you know, definitely as you're building on this model, try to, you know, definitely don't forget that the reason we're doing anything in this class is to prep you for studio. So if you're doing final sketches or you're making sketch models and you've got little grips and details and stuff in your model like this, little bits and pieces of the surface changes and stuff like that, then, you know, take notes here and try to think about how you can apply these techniques to your own model. It'll keep you motivated on this model and it'll make your studio model look better. So that's about that with that piece right there. I am pretty much good to go. I'm gonna have to kind of bring my model back to life now. So considering it's all back to one piece, it should work, but I'm kind of doubting it actually. Let's go slow. I'm gonna do the first couple cuts extrude. Okay, so cut extrude worked on mine. I was able to bring that back. It did have a little mustard colored guy here. Let's see, there's a thing inside of the options you get if you right click on a design thing that'll say what's wrong. And this doesn't help most of the time, 90% of the time it doesn't, but it says could not find face or plane. Fine. Okay, so what does that mean? I drew this sketch on a face that then got melded into another body, which is this new thing we've built. And so that just changed the name of the body. So it's all good. There's a way somewhere deep in the bowels of this stuff where you can change the you can change the thing. Let's just go edit feature and just rerun it. See if that fixes it. No. Okay, never mind. Just like I said at the start, James, don't worry if there's a little mustard in your mix. These fillets look like most of them are working. What do those fillets do? I forget. Oh yeah, those are my interior fillets that just soften up those edges. We got another cut extrude coming. That's going to be in the front. Okay, so yeah, exactly. So I just, for the front nozzle here where the lens goes, I started out with a cut extrude that I just put on the front face, this original front face. And then I made it a cut extrude of, I think, about 20 millimeters, just like that. From there, what I did is I did something interesting that I wanted to share with the class. On this edge here, guys, let's take a look at it. It was a perfect opportunity to use a new type of fillet. The fillet that I used is called a full round fillet, and it's where you have 3 flat edges that you'd like to round off completely. And so let me show you what it looks like. Oh, it's actually gonna fail. Cool, yeah, I get to redo it. Let me delete it. And let me try to edit it. Looks like I'll be able to get a win here. So there's 3 different boxes for the full round fillet. I'm going to clear them all out. And basically all you do is you go through this tool, you enter in 3 clean faces. Here's my outer face, my upper face, and my inner face. And then you can see what the tool does. It gives you a perfect round top between those 3 faces. So it's not really like a fillet, it's more just like a rounding off. To me, this makes the most sense in terms of relationship to the model shop. Remember when we used to make models, guys? Maybe you're making some models right now for studio, who knows? But you got your foam, you know, and you get the sandpaper and you wrap it around the edge of the model and you kind of pinch it and you feel the top of the sandpaper hitting that edge, and you know, this is that tool, you know, so it gives you a really clean, nice round top anywhere you have an extended edge or anything like that. And it's not two fillets that come together with a seam at the top. It's a full round fillet, hence the name. Okay, down here I put in some other little details, okay guys? So this is 2 little ridges that I added to the inside of my binoculars piece. I can edit these sketches to show you what that looked like. And if I switch my model to wireframe mode here, it's just 2 small little rectangles with a center line in the middle. And those 2 rectangles are revolving around in 3D space. I overlap the rectangles into the wall so that they would meld into the wall there. I got this idea from a very subtle look. If you look here at this promo image, it is really hard to see. Let's see if we zoom in. It's so slight. There's a little shelf inside of these binoculars that holds the lens, or that allows the lens to get glued in there. They might even put it in with a screw pin or something like that, it depends, but there's just a little shelf that holds it in place. And it's super important when you're making binoculars that the lenses all line up right in line with each other. If one big lens is shifted and the other one is off, then it could be really bad as far as your ability to focus. And so having a really tight, we'll say infrastructure, just stuff inside the body to hold the lens in place needs to be there. And it makes a difference. I can sort of see something in there. I don't know what it is, but I can see something, and I know. I think I watched a How It's Made one time on how they make binoculars. And anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on inside of these binoculars, and you can kind of see some of it when you look at these lenses. And so these lenses are going to be the attention drawer for the entire rendering process. They're going to draw the user right in. They're the shiniest thing on the model. They're also represent eyes, which people tend to focus on people's eyes when they talk to each other or they look at a rendering or something like that. Anyway, you want to have something going on inside. You don't just want a glass lens going into a vat of nothing. So also, even look, they've even got some sort of strange call out here. It's XR plus feature. Like nobody knows what that is, but it's a feature, you know, next to this guy's horrible cuticles. So we want something in there as well. And so that's what I did with these 2 little rectangles. I'm not guaranteeing that these rectangles are the right way that lenses are held inside binoculars, but I am saying that when we do render, there could be a slight little indication of something going on inside the barrel of the binocular, and that would just stop any teacher in their tracks from saying, like, do you even know how binoculars are made? You can say, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in there. See that little glimmer, you know? So long story about a really simple detail. So there's that, and it worked. I'm happy. I got a chamfer. I detailed these out even. Like I put a little chamfer edge on there. You can see got a little chamfer going on. And then I put a fillet on the chamfer. I'm really looking to get some bling to shine out of there. What else did I do? I put another fillet on there. And then the last one should have been, let's see, the sketch. What is this sketch doing? Oh, I had messed up at one point, guys, in my last file, and I had entered a little, I had made a lens inside of my assembly file, and I made it incorrectly. I didn't make it as its own part file. And so this sketch that you see here is the lens that or is the sketch that led to the lens that I didn't make in the right place. So I copied it out of this file and opened it in a new file, and then I made it from there. Since I've got it here, I could show you guys what I might do in order to, if I wanted to put a lens inside of this part file, which I kind of don't, but I'm going to do it anyway, just as an example. Yeah, I can do that for you. One of the ways I knew I screwed up with this sketch was when you do a revolve boss base on this sketch and you look at it, you realize that's wrong. I mean, that's not even, it's not centered in the model. So now we're coming back to like the problem that you were talking about, James, right? Where you've got to draw this thing, this sketch here needs to be drawn in the area of this model that makes sense. And there's no plane there right now. So we'd have to, you know, set a plane in the exact precise spot so that this sketch could live in the center of this sort of situation. So I can talk you guys through that. Let me just delete. Just always when you're thinking about stuff like this, when you've got a challenging plane situation going on, try to think about what planes you currently have available. So here's my right plane, okay? And that would technically be in the correct orientation for what I want. I just want this thing to be over a little bit. In fact, the sketch that I'm talking about here is drawn on the right plane. So, so correct, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a line. I talked about this in the last class. If you wanna make a plane anywhere in space at any angle, just draw a line and then put a plane on the body of the line and then click the endpoint of the line and you'll have the plane line up perpendicular to that. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna go to the front plane, correct? Which technically is a sheet of paper that I can draw on away from the right plane. So I'm gonna make a sketch on the front plane. It'll look normal too. I'm gonna switch my model to wireframe mode. I'm gonna grab a center line. And I am going to wiggle my mouse around until I find the center of this piece. Now you see how I did that? Like I went over here and I found the center of this line and I dragged my mouse off and that helped me find that center line. Then I went onto this side. I kind of told I'm communicating with SolidWorks here. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for something. Then I come here to the center, and then when I get down to the center here, I can start to get all three of these guidelines kind of showing off. So I know that's the center of this lens space. So I'll click once there, and then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to tell SolidWorks, I want you to end this line at the origin, which is where the right plane lives. I make sure to have this sketch land flat. And that's all I need. That's going to be the guideline that I'm going to use, okay? And then I'm going to make a new sketch that's going to go from the right plane over to here, and it's going to stop right there. It's going to land right in the center. That should work, right? I think so. Let's check. All right. Good, good, good. So I really want you guys to try this out on your own models because, as I said in other classes, you know, once you can break out of that standard XYZ space, excuse me, with a SolidWorks model, that's when you can start to confuse people with the level of precision and clarity that you can bring to your CAD, plus just, you know, also organic modeling as well. So I'm going to do that little trick where you make a plane by hovering your mouse over the corner of the plane till you see the crossbars, hold down Control and drag a new plane off of there. I'm going to drag a new plane off this way, and then I'm going to reset it right at this endpoint. And that plane is now sitting right where I want it to be. Very good. Cool, cool. So I've got the messed up sketch that's still on the right plane. I've got a new plane I want it to live at. I'm going to start a sketch on the new plane. And then I'm going to use convert entities to copy it onto the plane that I just drew, like that. Okay, so now that little lens is sitting pretty right in there. Very good. Shade my model again. And I'll do the revolve boss base from there. I want to be very careful now because it's just an example for you guys on making custom planes, reusing sketches, and just kind of the setup that I've got for my lens thing here. You don't want to be building your lenses into the same part file as the rest of your thing. So I'm going to grab all of this here. I'm going to go down to selected contours for the revolve and grab the entire interior. And then the axis of revolution will just be this little line right here. Spin around like that. And then make sure that you uncheck merge result here. Because if you leave it on, it'll merge that lens into the rest of the body. And when you go to key shot, you're not going to be able to separate the colors. You're not going to be able to add different materials. It's going to be a mess. So lenses need to be separate from the rest of the body, just as they would be in manufacturing or the real world. Okay, cool. So that's that. And there we go. We're good. Okay, let's take a look over here. I think I just have one or two more little things I wanted to add. Yeah, it looks like I've got a flat edge right here on my model that I want to fillet. And there's a hard edge here that I want to fillet as well, so I'm going to do that. But notice I do the theoretical edges first so that I have a good track for the race car to run around. So let me do this kind of just one at a time. Here's an old fillet up here that's kind of gone south because of the way that I handled this model. I'm just going to delete it because I don't need it anymore, and I don't want duplicate unused items in my tree. And this cut extrude here is just going to have to leave it as it is. But eventually I'm going to want to fillet this outer edge of this whole thing. And I've got this hard edge right here kind of bearing into the area that I'm going to want to fillet. So I want to start by rounding this off. I have to change from three-sided fillet though back to standard constant size fillet. Look at the size can be, let's start at 1. Okay, that's good. It does the round and leaves a little room on top. Hence curvature continuous. And I was really hoping it was going to continue all the way around the model. This might be one of those scenarios, guys, where it's giving me a partial preview. It says full preview. It's annoying. Let's see what we get if we just take that. Oh, it's going to fail. Claims. All right. it might just need a couple more clicks. Let's bring it around the mountain here. Yeah, there we go. It just needs a little bit more of a nudge to get all the way around. We'll set it to curvature to see if it works. Yeah, that's fine. Cool, cool, cool. So this is good. Now we've got a nice little ramp here. We should be able to get around. Let's just soften off this hard edge right here. Another fillet. Keep in mind, fillets seem to be a little bit cranky right here. So if we just get a partial, know what to do. This one's way more easygoing. Yeah, just like that. Okay, everything's looking good here. I just want one little fillet right there. Whichever one I had running there before is gone. Cool, so that's going to take all of that. That's looking kind of chunky to me. I think I'm going to set it to 0.5. All right, good. So now I've got all the hard edges filleted off of this top piece here. So I can go in and start to fillet this top again. Yeah, there you go. Looks like it's just going to need a couple more clicks to get around. Yep. This area up here is where we've got the holder for the strap that's going to sit right here. So whenever you have two items that are both filleted that sit on top of each other, the gap in between those two filleted items gets bigger. So I like to minimize that. So I'm going to set this to, where did I have it at? 0.5? 0.25. Yeah, a little micro fillet here. All right, good, good. Everything's looking like it's working okay. We've still got the interior fillets to do, so we'll add those. Looks like one is a little bit big for that. Oh, she doesn't like this one. Okay. Well, that's annoying. Let's partial preview. Press all the buttons until it works. You guys know. It's failing. Why are you failing? Odd. Okay. I'm going to try a different tactic here. Instead of trying that interior, I'll just try the top one first. The top one seems to be kind of working, but SolidWorks is getting mad at me. See how it's just showing a portion of the build here? It's not showing the entire fillet. Also, I'm having an issue where it's kind of selecting things through the model as opposed to what I want. So I'm getting some issues here. Tangent propagation. It's not wanting to fillet this at all. What is happening? You know, I wonder if there's a little stagger or something right on this mirror. Feels like that edge is a little bit big. So strange. I'm digging down into the kind of bowels of the fillet tool now to see maybe why it's unhappy. So sad that it's not wanting to work right now. What an annoying problem. Just going to try a couple of different more sizes. And go lower. Okay, no love. Just gonna run around here and check it from a few different angles before I kind of give up. Just put it to bed. Let me see. Just try to run the fillet from this edge here. Okay, that worked. Why did that work? So for that one, what I did, I'll do it again. What I did there, guys, is the old trick that if you click on a flat face with the fillet tool will run around and grab all of the edges of that flat face and it will fillet them automatically. Kind of like if I go to this flat face right here on the model and I say fillet, it will run around and fillet all of those edges. So that's the easy example. And it kind of forces the fillet tool to do some work for you and to like actually find the edges as opposed to you telling it what the edges are. So if I grab fillet here with a size of about 0.5 and I click on this flat edge here, it's acting strange. It's giving me partials here, partial yellow here and here. I mean, it's acting a little bit odd, but hey, when I hit OK, it actually finishes it off okay. So that worked. Let me try one more like that. I'm just going to click this big flat piece right here. See if that will go around and grab the interior. I don't think I'm going to get that lucky. Look at this little sliver right here is all it's giving me. Oh, it worked. Oh my God. Yeah, we're getting into glitch town right now. This is like glitch world. When SolidWorks starts doing things it's not supposed to, it means maybe give her a break. So that's job done though. We're good. I just, because I've already made lenses in my assembly file, I really want to make sure to take out the body from the little demo I did on this lens. So I'm going to do that here. I'm just going to right click, delete the lens file. And I'm also going to delete this sketch too, just to keep the confusion out of my file. I can also delete this construction line that I used to place the plane in the center of my piece. And here's SolidWorks telling me, hey Bob, if you delete that sketch, then you will not have a reference for the plane that you added. And so you can see here it says all dependent items, plane 3. I'm going to go, I don't care. And so it takes the plane along with the sketch, deletes it as well. So here we are. This is good. So success is ours. We've got this detail added in here, and I'd say that's a good place to kind of take a little break on demo for a second and come back in a little bit. And there's some more details to kind of add into this thing too. There's these little lines that are also grips that we need to add into our model. There will be some detail that we're gonna not add. You know, there's some very subtle little steps and stuff in here that we're not gonna bother bringing into our model unless you're so inclined. But These ones here, we'll try to get those started in the next little bit of class. Those are just going to be some sweeps, and so we're going to set some custom planes and do some stuff to see if we can get those to work in the next bit. And then just to kind of close out this demo here, I'm just going to go File and Save and Close. And that's going to close my R8 working file. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to open my assembly file that's attached to that. Let's see if the work comes along for the ride. It's going to say rebuild and open all references. Yes. Okay. And so here we go, right? So I had deleted the mirror, and but I had added all these other details. So my mirror component is still running. My sketch, my item has turned mustard color because of a couple of these busted cut extrudes, which I'm not worried about. So I'm going to leave them as is. And that goes for your files too, guys. If you have stuff like that, I'm not going to get mad at you. But yeah, there's job done and detail added. And we'll likely just keep going in this kind of fashion when it comes to adding detail, where this is my personal working style. I shove it onto you guys. You know, I like to keep myself really organized and kind of clear the clutter away as I'm working. So we'll open that left side binocular up in its own file again in the second half of the class, and we'll add those additional little details and go from there. So I hope that helps you guys, and why don't we take a little 15-minute break and just come back at 9 p.m. And how about any questions, concerns? How are you guys doing? Are you guys following along with me here? Are you guys keeping up, or anybody got anything to say before we break?
I'm not following along, so I got nothing.
Cool. That's good. I like to hear that. Yeah, I didn't think so. It's all good. It's not hard stuff. It's just, you know, tips and tricks. And so, all right, very good. Okay, back to it.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's see. So we got James. Chloe, are you here with us? Sylvia? Sarah?
Yes.
Cool. Nico, are you with us too?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. I thought we'd just start off by taking another look at this reference photo, because these next little, let me share my screen so that you guys can see what I'm looking at. First of all, I just want to remind everybody how important it is that you guys still have that original packet of the website for the binoculars, along with the reference photos and stuff. If you see, like, it's pretty important to building this thing out, you know, so please let me know right after class if you don't have that, and I will shoot you a zip right away with it. So these little, like, finger grips here are pretty unique in how they look like they've been built. I was hoping that they would be kind of like little revolves, and what we could do is set a series of planes kind of along the in like kind of like a circular fashion, and just do some little like revolved bits here, and we could definitely get away with something like that. But it does kind of, when I zoom in here on this photo, it does look like they actually are a little bit more rectangular if I just look at the highlight right here. So I'll try to build a few of them, and we'll see how they look, and I'll leave it up to you guys to kind of decide. But I think the technique for building these, if they were revolves, would require one plane kind of sitting right in the center of this form, and then we could just draw a little profile curve and revolve it in there. To make this a rectangular shape, I think the better move would be to do a plane here on this side and then another plane here on this side and then loft between the two, or do like a sweep or something like that between the two shapes. So long story short, I don't have an exact plan on how to pull this off, but in attempting both ways, we'll have a lot of examples of how you can just set planes at different angles and just, you know, more examples of kind of experimenting with SolidWorks to get what you want. And then just, you know, a reminder to everybody to, you know, just zoom in on the detail needed to get all of this graphics and, you know, detail into the bodies, the adjuster pins here and stuff like that, the logo here. These are all going to be on you to figure out how to put in as your homework over the long week. The reason is because we've done this before in both SolidWorks and in Rhino. And because, you know, I gave you guys these two PDF files, the download menu and the PDF. They don't have icons, strangely enough, but those are working PDF files, and you can open them in Illustrator and get your graphics right out of those. So that's going to be part of the homework. So I want you guys to kind of know what I mean when I say do that for homework. Try to get as many of these logos in here. There's like the Vortex logo too as well. So yeah, so let's dig back into the CAD and see what we've got. All right. So pretty clearly, I mean, this feels complicated to me. So I'm gonna actually jump back into the individual part file. So now that I've confirmed that the changes that I made in the part file have come through to the assembly file, I feel super confident about my assembly file. I feel like I can just kind of leave it off on the side, and as long as I am careful about what I do, I should be able to bring this thing back in at any point. And when I'm ready, I can always edit this part and perform the mirror operation to double it up the way you guys have all done such a good job doing. At any point, you can just flip that thing over and you'll get it in one fell swoop. But for me, I'm going to leave it as one piece for as long as possible, just because it hurts my brain a little bit less. So, and so I'll actually close my assembly file. I'll save my edits, and I will open my R8 example here. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at this thing. You know what I'm actually thinking now that I have this thing open and I'm looking at it, if we use planes to, let's say we put flat planes in, I'll show you what I mean. So let's say that I like this idea of, here was my original idea, was do something like this. I could put a plane, say right about here, and draw a circle on this plane. Look normal too. Just pretend I put a circle. Okay, so you guys can all see that circle floating in the center there. Here's a trick. So you can take a sketch or a circle or whatever, and you can put points onto that line. And these points aren't anything that will affect the line. They are just merely points in space that you can then designate stuff off of. So here's the point tool. It's really hard to see if you're not looking for it. So I hope you guys see that. I'm going to take the point tool and I'm going to put a point like here and another one here and another one here. Okay, cool. I'll just exit out of that sketch and we'll kind of look at what I did. Okay, so here's the sketch and here's these points. Now, here's the move, right? You can go to your plane tool to add a custom plane, and you can actually click on, sorry, not like that. You click on the circle and then the point. And you see how that plane will pop into position right at that right angle. So here was kind of my original idea. We'd set a circle, we'd throw some points on it, and then we'd be good to go. So there's one angled plane like that. Let's try another one. Plane, circle, and point. And there's another angled plane like that. We'll zoom in, it's a little easier to see. And despite the fact that I'm not going to do this, I'll still show it as an example because I really want to drill this into your heads, guys. So points on a circle is a really cool way to get things figured out. So this works for straight lines, curves, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. The problem with this setup for what we're trying to build here, what we see in our reference photo, is that it looks like these are just going to be straight. That's not really what we want. So let me show you here. I was thinking, okay, let me just take one of these planes. I'll just make a sketch on this one plane right here. And I'll look normal too. And then I'll draw a curve. That kind of follows along with the arc of the main body there. Okay, maybe I'll take this guy and offset it. Just like 0.5, just a little more, maybe 2. Yeah, offset it. And I'm doing a special type of offset that's called cap. It's got cap ends on it. See this one here, cap ends. If you haven't done an offset with a cap end, it just adds little caps. It's good for situations like this where you want to revolve stuff. Then we've got this arced curve. Maybe we'll tuck that in just a little bit. 1.5. Okay. And from there, we can do a revolve boss base. So revolve boss base. And the axis of revolution would be the interior line. Okay, never mind. It doesn't even want to do that because it's an arc. Let's straighten it out. Just going to grab my straight line tool here. Axes always need to be straight. So we've got a curved line here that's built off of an offsetted curved line. Okay, we'll do a revolve boss base. And the axis will be this guy. Perfect. Okay, cool. Okay, so that little tiny revolve kind of sits there like that, working off of that plane. And that doesn't look, I mean, it doesn't look horrible. I wouldn't say it's like the worst thing I've ever seen. It definitely kind of gets you there as far as this, the kind of detail that we're hoping for. But I think it could be better, you know? So just everybody, as you're taking your notes, you know, remember the bit about adding points to a line to set custom plane angles, and maybe take something to the bank from this little demo here, but I don't want to go that route. So I'm going to take out everything, even this sketch with the circle and the plane that I drew the circle on, all this jazz right here. Let's get rid of it. Okay, this guy too, go away. All right, so another idea that I had here, let's try this. Let's look at it from the very top view, okay? And I think this might get us somewhere different. So what we'll do is we wanna get, my idea here is to get some lines projected onto this surface that we can then attach planes to the front and back of, and then we'll sweep or loft between those two surfaces, or between the two sketches. So the question is, well, how do you get a curve that follows this surface at an angle like this, following along with this line here, but it's actually sitting on this 3D surface here? And so the answer to that is an intersection curve. So what we'll do is, from this top view here, we will Find the plane that's facing that direction, the front plane. We'll make a sketch. We'll grab a curve. All right, and we're going to click an arc along this angle like this. And you want this curve to be subtle, I think. You don't want it to be like too bent. There we go. So that's kind of the general look of the detail that we want to add to this thing. What we can do next is do an extruded surface off of this line, and then where it intersects with the rest of the body, it should give us a 3D curve. Okay, so let's try that. We'll go to surfaces, extruded surface. It's going to obviously go in the wrong direction. So here's our surface right here. Now the reason this is a 3D curve is because it goes down, it goes around, it's bent in all directions. It's very subtle, but it's hard to see. But so let's go like that. All right. And the intersection curve is hidden under convert entities. So we go to sketch and convert entities. And we'll go to intersection curve. And we'll take this plane and this body, and we'll create a 3D curve that sits right on that surface. And then this is another one of those scenarios, guys, where you need to hide this plane. This would be a construction plane. So I'm going to approve that and hide this sketch. I have to exit the sketch first. Hide this. Okay, so there's our sketch that lives on our surface. Okay, and then what we can do here is we can put two planes, one on this side, one on this side, and then we'll run between the two. Okay, let's do that. So remember this trick, right? You want to draw a plane at the end of a line. You click the main body of the line first, and then the end point of the line. Then that plane will end up perpendicular to the line, give you a perfect working space. Okay, so there's one there, and be careful when you're firing off the plane tool. If you see what just happened to me there, it can automatically grab references that you don't want. So if it kind of looks funny or whatever, don't be afraid to just go up here to the first reference, delete it. You want to start it from scratch every time. If it starts up on its own, definitely dig into the references here and make sure you hit the body of the line first and then the end point. Because it's actually capturing a lot of detailed angles right now at this point. So, okay, cool. So we're good in this kind of sense. We can get in here and we can do a, now that I'm looking at it, we could do a swept surface pretty easy. We've got all of this surfacing tools available to us. We could do a swept boss base. We could do a lofted boss base from one profile curve to the other. Quite know where we want to go. I'm going to start with a swept and see how that looks. So I'm just going to go to plane 7 here and start up a sketch. And I could go normal too, but let's see how confusing that looks. Yeah, way confusing, in my opinion. I mean, here's, I don't know, there's the point we're trying to draw on. Is that confusing to anyone else? I'm sure you guys need to see yes. Let's try it. What I'll do here, we want to draw a closed set of curves that overlaps into the body of the item here, so that when we do our swept object, it's going to meld into the rest of the body and we don't have to join it on its own. So let's see what we can do. I think what I'm going to try to do is grab a curve, and I'm just going to kind of arc a curve up over the line. Like if I think about this as the rail that it's going to sweep along, then I want to kind of draw the shape that's going to sweep along that curve. So it's kind of like this. And then I'm going to take a straight line tool, and I'm going to try to make this really simple kind of shape that dips below the edge of the surface. This can be one curve, it doesn't need to be two. And hopefully what we'll get is we'll get like a little kind of ziggurat looking pyramid style shape thing here with a dome top and two flat edges. We can fill it, and then everything below the surface will get melded into the body. So let's take a look at this super small little detail here that we're adding. Fun stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go for swept boss base. And I'm going to grab the curve here and the curve here, like that. And I can't tell if it joined into the rest of the body, so I have to look. Do I still have one solid body? Yes, I do. Did I draw my sketch way too microscopically small for some reason? Completely, yeah. So, but I think this is the move. I think this is the right move to get these things to work from almost any angle. I think we can probably do 2 or 3 from the top, and if you wanted to add some more to the bottom. So I'm just gonna up the size of my sketch a little bit. I don't think we even need to do the loft because so we don't even need this plane back here. Get rid of it. Cool. I'm gonna go back to my sweep. I'm gonna go to my sketch. I'm gonna zoom in on it. it's so small. Why did I do that? All right, it's kind of a touchy shape. It's probably worth it to just rebuild this. You don't have to get too crazy with dimensions or anything on this kind of thing. This is a small little detail. It will be nice to have a domed top. And still, it could be bigger, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty fatty. Also, let's pay attention to the size of the other extrusion that we made too. It should be kind of in the neighborhood of that high. Plus, we're looking at this, and these are 1 millimeter fillets. So we want to remember that we want at least 0.5 millimeter fillets or some generous size fillets to run on this thing. So the bigger we make this thing, the bigger fillets it can accept, the bigger we plan ahead. So I'm going to go with that. Perfect. Okay. That's looking okay. And I'll expect you guys to really dial in your sketches here. It's the kind of thing you just play around with and just, you know, fiddle with it until it gets right. Once we're done with that, we'll fill it out and we'll put some 0.5 millimeter fillets on here and on these edges to start. Oh, it's looking like I have a problem. So you can see here that the surface is lifted off of the main body as it's swept along that curve. So dang, All right, that just means I need to dip the curve into the body a little bit more. I just really need to kind of really overshoot that. So let's kind of just really bring it in there so that no matter which way this thing twists and turns, it's going to stay within its shape. Yeah, see? That's good. Okay. Okay, I'm going to hide this plane here because it's right in my way. So fillet this out. And then we'll also fillet the top in one fell swoop. My computer is really having that problem I told you guys about with the partial preview thing. But yeah, there you go. And let's try to just do this one more time with 1/8 of a millimeter fillet. Just going to grab one edge here. It's just giving me that partial. Let's go full preview. There you go. Okay, good, good, good. So that's kind of in line with what I think we could do. I think when I look back at the actual photo here, one of the things that I notice is that these end caps do kind of follow along with this line. So, you know, one way I could do that is maybe just extend this surface with this extrusion here a little bit closer to this line. Maybe refrain on merging it into the rest of the body and then cut it off at the angle I want and then merge it in. Tell you what I'll do, I'll do 2 more of these details and we'll customize those ones and see that process, and then we'll be good to go. I think that'll be enough to keep you guys busy. So let's do the second one here again from the top view, and I'm gonna just go to my front plane and take a sketch. This one I'm going to bend a little bit more closer. We might need to switch to the side view for a few of these other ones. Okay. Very good. And so the move again, you draw the line, you extrude a surface up. Make sure to set that extrusion on the line you drew. It's really not wanting to grab that line. Hold on, let me get in there. Doesn't like my plan anymore. You're being annoying. Let's try another move. What if I make a new plane that's up here? And then I make a sketch on that and convert this sketch up here and then extrude surface down off of that. I don't know why that worked, but it did. Kind of makes a little bit more sense to see it coming from the top down, like some sort of knife blade sticking in the model. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to say yes to that. Now, the reason we don't do a boss extrude here or something is because that would join into the rest of the model, and because we're really just trying to create a line on a surface. So hello, it's right here under sketch, under convert entities. We'll go to intersection curve. We're going to go 1 and 2. And then I'll create the line we need, approve, and we will exit and hide all of these extra planes. All right, from here, we're just going to stick a plane right on the end of this curve here. So there's one there. Perfect. All right, I'm just going to make a sketch right on that plane. See, once you get the method down, it gets a little bit easier. That little red dot right there is the origin. That's right where our line begins. So that's, don't forget, you hit Control-8 twice to revolve your model around. So what did we learn from the last one? We learned we usually make them too small. So I'm going to really dive into the model here. And I'm going to build my little angled lines in here. And when you're making these lines and you're extending these lines past the surface here, really think about, you know, this little nub you're building in here. This is going to be the thing that provides ergonomics. So this is not nothing. This is definitely going to be something that has, it's a conversation point on the CAD. It's a detail area. Okay. And these little curves will be active for the rest of the model as we need them to be. So you can adjust them later. I'm just going to start with something like that and we'll see what we get. We'll do the swept boss base again. There we go. This one's really big, but hey. Just go with it. I'll leave you guys the challenge of trying to make them look pretty. I'll give you the technique. You guys make it look nice. All right. Now that one, I didn't follow along with the rules that I meant to. Let me edit that sweep and take a look at this. So in the sweep tool, when you're doing this, if you want to leave this as a separate item so you can trim it separately, then you just go here to the options on the sweep and you go to merge result and uncheck merge result. And that will leave the thing as its own little entity floating in space. And then if you want to, you can come and edit it as needed. So let me show you what that would look like. Go here to my original boss extrude, this guy. Let's edit this one. Uncheck merge result. So it's its own little body. Perfect. I'll take off the fillets. I don't need those right now. Perfect. Cool. All right, I'm just going to do one more of these. Now that these are both separate, I can adjust them as needed. Let's just hide this plane. And this line never seemed to work out, so I'm going to delete it. Or I guess I'm going to hide it. It seems to be attached to a lot of stuff. So, all right, now as we come around on this barrel and we start to kind of dip down to the side view here, I think it'd be better to kind of change our approach. As opposed to coming from the top down, we can now start to attack the model from the side view. So let's just look at our planes and see what we have. We've got a right plane here. Why don't we just bring a model, or sorry, bring a plane over to this side. Yeah, I think that looks nice. Just bring one right there. We'll make a sketch on that. Will look normal too. And then this will just give us the opportunity to kind of strike a line that kind of follows along with the others. Okay, good. So yeah, nice. We'll do it the same technique as before. Extruded surface should come off flat and into the model. Perfect. I'll do that intersection curve again. 1, 2, 3. Pay attention to how that looks in the design tree, guys. We're making something called the 3D sketch. Down here at the bottom, you see it, 3D sketch. Just need to call that out so you guys don't get confused. Let's hide this. Hide this. We just need the curve, okay? So one more time with this technique, then we should be able to get you guys out of here a little bit earlier than the full class period. So I'm just going to click the main body. And this, I mean, I want you guys to see this kind of from all angles. You click the main body of that curve, the plane that you're creating really jumps off and it looks like it's off in space. Once you hit that endpoint, it snaps right back into position. So that's one of the things you really need to get used to, that feel of snapping a plane to a line and then sticking it onto the end of the line. That's super important. So I want you guys definitely to practice that. And so we'll do the same maneuver again. One more time. It's a little bit more kind of confusing every time. Just remember this point right here, this is your center point. So you're kind of drawing a symmetrical shape around there. And it should be well inside the body. At this point too, with the 3 other things, you should be also thinking about like the relationship between the size of these and this one. I would imagine, guys, when you do this on your own, you're going to need to fiddle around with this quite a bit. Okay. Better safe than sorry. I'm going to really drag that one in. Remember, I'm just overlapping into the main sphere there, into the main barrel. There you go. There's my sketch. We'll do a swept surface. No, not swept surface. Who said swept surface? Swept boss base. This goes here. Okay, cool. So these are pretty much done. I'm just gonna hide that. That's swept. I want to actually keep that separate from the rest of the model because I'm going to trim all 3 of these. So I'm going to edit that again. If you accidentally merge it into the rest of the body, don't worry, just go to options, uncheck merge result. Usually 99% of the time, merge result will be on automatically. Okay, cool. So I've got these 3 bodies here sitting pretty in the middle of our thing. Let's make them look cool. So I think from the side view, actually, you can use that same plane that I just used. I've got this, which plane? This one, this new one that I just made. I think if I come up with a sketch on this plane here and look normal too, yeah, cool. I'm just gonna I'm looking at this line here and I'm like, all right, let me just draw a line that kind of falls along with that. Okay, good. I'm going to take a couple of straight bits of line work, and all I'm doing right now is I'm just boxing in this shape here on the top so that I can do a cut extrude and cut extrude off all these tips. So I want this to be a full thing like this. So let me do that. And so I'm going to go cut extrude. When you do the cut extrude on this one, you've got to be careful about it. You've got to tell the program exactly what bodies you want to cut and not the whole model. Okay, so be careful, because when you fire off this, it's going to want to cut through everything, and you can freak out if you cut a big hole in your model. So go down here to feature scope, go down to selected bodies, uncheck auto select, selected bodies, go 1, 2, 3. Set the direction to through all both. And say okay. And just take those off. Makes them look a little cooler. Okay, we'll do that on the other side as well. All right. This is where you get to design. You know, I'm not going to get on you guys about copying the exact set of line work here. I mean, if you, or the exact product, you know, if you come up with a design for a hand grip on the side of this and you use this technique, then I'll be happy just to know that you guys can outfit a design with cool details like this. So there we go. And same maneuver as before, extruded cut. All right. Okay, so like I said, you know, these things look weird. They're sticking out too much. They're really not that subtle, but they're getting there as far as looking semi-cool. I'd like to adjust mine right now, but I kind of just think I'm gonna sort of leave it alone. Maybe I just pick one. This one in the middle seems to be pretty heinous. So I just go back to that original sketch that I'm running and, you know, look at that thing normal too. So it's nice and simple to understand. And I think the idea here is that you just need to kind of mimic the rounded shape a little bit more. So this end needs to be a little closer, this one a little down like that, you know. Make that edit and the model should come along for the ride. You can also edit in 3D like this too. So better. Okay, so that'll be that. And yeah, I'm just gonna merge these little details back into the rest of the model now. Throw some fillets on them. We'll call it a day. So to merge these back in, I'll use the combine tool. 1, 2, 3, and 4 to combine everything together. Give your model a spin when you do the combine to make sure there's nothing you're forgetting. Say add. That should work. And we'll throw some quickie fillets on there. Got these little 0.5 millimeter micro fillets to add. 2, 3, 4. I mean, this kind of like, you know, 3D CAD is sort of my favorite, the detailing out of the model, you know, and adding the little, I don't know, adding the detail. I mean, getting the main first blend was the hard part for sure. And now we're just kind of adding cool factor and rubber grips and stuff like that. So let's a couple more here. 1, 2. No. So I just did a misclick and I accidentally hit the face instead of the edge. If that happens, you can always jump in here to the list of items added to the fillet and you can take one out. I want just the edge right there. Okay, good, good. So close now. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5. The last one didn't work. Okay, let's leave it. All right, cool. So yeah, I could work these out a lot better. I could make them a lot more even. I could make them kind of flow along with the rest of the surface. I think they're all like, you know, much different than what we see in the actual item. So I could work on those a lot more, but it's the technique that matters. It's that, you know, intersection curve, and it's that setting of the custom plane that really takes the, that's really the new intro for today. So I hope that helps you guys get this further. Just to finish off my model here, I'll save my work. And for the heck of it, I will open the assembly file that I have stashed on the side here. It's going to want to rebuild. That means it's adding the new details that you added. And there they are. Nice, nice. I put them on the bottom. Oops. No, there you go. That's the underside. Oh, man. So, hey, you know, such is life with 3D CAD, right? You just gotta redo everything. That's all I gotta do. No problem. As I mentioned, guys, I am just as interested in you are as figuring out this model so that it looks really, really, really good. And so I will be redoing my work as well. This is just, you know, what happens, you know, sometimes, you know, it's an oops. And it's a little bit of work to redo, but you'll be a better CAD designer because of it. Just talking to myself now, I guess. But yeah, I probably want to spend a little bit more time actually diving in on those details. You know, get yourself over to the website here, and you know, see if you can get yourself like, yeah, see, look at this, like this. Yeah, you got some work to do on getting that figured out. So anyway, really do your best on this, guys. For homework, I want you guys to get all of your graphics ready and try to finish off basically all of these eye details and everything. You guys saw James's file at the start of class. I think he's got a pretty good example of like where you should be at. And you know, for you, James, you know, there's more details to add too. You've got to, you know, project this piece all the way through and then get your logos and stuff out of that PDF file. I want you guys to prove to me that you guys know how to do that with the DXF and everything like that. If you need to look back at the old tutorials, then do it. All of these details and stuff, the lenses, everything should be coming along. And I want you guys to have some good solid practice because we're not going to have class on Thursday. I won't be available on Thursday either. It's not like I'm having a party or any family coming over or anything. It's still pandemic, but my wife and family, we're doing a thing, and I'm not going to touch my phone or computer for at least 2 days. So be full of turkey and stuff like that. So you have what you need. You've got the skills that you need. I really want you guys to go to town on this thing and really make yourself a solid portfolio piece here, because that's exactly where we're headed with this. And this will be like nothing the DC program has seen before. This is definitely going to be one of the more complex models that's come out of the DC3 class in a long time. And from the work I have seen come in, I think you guys are all headed in that direction. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys shine. So this is good. I'm not going to save it because I have to redo all my work anyway. And we'll just call it right there. That's class.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Very good. Anybody questions, concerns? Considering you just watched your teacher do the whole thing backwards. Oops.
Honestly, I'm sure you'll get an email.
Yeah, it'll be good. Yeah, I just worked it upside down. That was one of the things that I was saying was the challenge of this model, is trying to figure out how to orientate it right, considering we're not really using top plane, bottom plane, you know, like we're not using the typical Z up orientation on this one. We're kind of using the front plane as the ground plane. So it's easy to get mixed up like that, but practice makes perfect. So, okay. All right, guys. Well, I'll let you go. This is all being recorded, so I'll get the recording up. And don't forget that I've already got a 1-hour recording online for you guys that's got everything you'll need to know about how to get to where my model was when we started class today. So, awesome. All right, guys. I'll shut this down. Sarah, you and me are going to chat again, so I'm going to send you a Zoom link right after. All right, then.
Sure.
All right, guys. I'll see everyone later.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.